Thank you so much. Who is here for the first time? Put your hand up. Oh, that's good. We got a new crowd in tonight. Okay, welcome. Welcome to your first supper club. We're going to have a conversation, and the thing I like about this setting is it is a conversation. So we're up here under lights with microphones, but we're all in this room together. So I encourage that, and we will make time to have a conversation. I've just had some very interesting ones outside. I actually started my career as a photographer, or trying to be a photographer, which is on the cusp of film and digital, which makes me feel very old, which makes this conversation feel interesting. But I've just been talking about AI with a couple of people out the front there, which makes this whole world feel like it's about to blow up. So maybe we'll get into that. I'm going to race through some intros and then throw a few questions at everybody before we go into the formal proceedings. So sitting next to me here, Thomas Schaefer, CEO? Is that the title? Stepney Studios, co-founder. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having all of us. Down the other end, Harvey, welcome. Harvey's the director, 25 years, 80 countries. You were just in Korea last week, so that's true here. Behind the lens, so assume you're on team video. We'll see. Alex Huynh, welcome Alex, how are you?
I'm great. Not
Nice.
nervous at all.
Good, don't be. Head of social for Davies Fogarty. Who knows who Davies Fogarty is? Nice. Who doesn't know? You can put your hand up. That's a safe space. Well, do you want to tell people who Davies Fogarty is?
Davies Fogarty is also my boss. He is the owner of the Woody and the younger shark that was on Shark Tank.
And welcome Linda, who works for Woody and is also married to Alex. So
Yes. We'll see how we go tonight.
Or
I'm
engaged.
very interested to see what happens here in the middle. We've seated you there, strategically.
That might happen after we have our conversation.
So before I throw to questions, I've actually just put something under your seat. So if you just want to reach down under your seat, you've got a card there. I believe it says agree or disagree on it.
Hey.
Great. So I just kind of want to set the scene and work out, who's who in the zoo and what people think about things. I've got one too. I think I might just not do mine. So I'm going to throw 5 questions at you, and I want you to flip around, agree or disagree. Understand?
Yep.
Great. Anyone with an iPhone can now make content as good as a production company. Ooh.
Harvey, you've got 5 seconds to flip that around.
Okay, that's a good split.
Yes. Wait, are you swapping?
I swapped.
Did you copy me?
Hang on. Where did it start? 'Cause it was
There was both agree.
agree. Go back. Okay, agree.
He's hoping I don't leave him with
See
the
the
altar,
strategy
that's why.
here. Okay, next one. If your ad looks like an ad, it already failed. Tom, that's agree. Great. Agree, disagree. Interesting. Okay, I'll try and come back to that one. Follow account is a vanity metric.
It does look nice.
Follow account is a vanity metric.
Not enough.
Did you choose? You got to choose. Okay, great. Within 5 years, most branded social content will be made by AI.
Completely made by AI or using AI as part of the process?
I don't know. What question should I ask Craig? What else is going to be happening in 5 years? Within 5 years, we will all be sitting absorbed with a, past UBI, like matrix scenarios. Okay, what do we got here? Disagree, agree.
There's too many.
Interesting. 5 years seems like a long time in 2026.
Not in AI world, though.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like 5 years feels like a long time. Okay, good. Halfway there. And then I have disagreed with a client and been wrong about it.
Wait.
A perfect record.
Sure. Beautiful. So now some proper introductions. Thank you for that. That kind of sets the scene for me. So I'll start with you, Ash. The strategy sous chef, speaker, visual storyteller, and the freshly crowned AHFA Digital Influencer of the Year. Well done. Congratulations. Round of applause. Built her consultancy from the ground up with a 2-month-old on her lap, and now coaches over 1,000 beauty professionals worldwide. Because nobody tells Your story better than you. We've got a question for you to kick things off. Yeah. Beauty is one of the most crowded UGC fields on social. What makes someone distinctive rather than one of the many? Oh, I like this. This is good.
I think it's all about being original. You know, Instagram is 14 years old. What stopped the scroll before does not stop the scroll anymore. We are so more savvy around what's orchestrated, what's performative, and I think people are searching for like real, intentional people that are taking you along the journey and not afraid to be a bit flawed, you know? Like if you're going to show the process, it means you're not going to get everything right. And I think that's what builds trust, and that's what we want to see from humans on the internet, not AI, not product shots, but real storytelling, connecting human to human. So the content creators that can do that and are brave enough to be that authentic, and that's a buzzword, I know, but that's what it really is about. The people that can do that, they're the ones who are going to stand out and actually make money.
What happens in a world where the level is raised and there's lots of people that feel authentic? Then what's that next level of distinctiveness?
I think process for me is the big one, because when we think about, for me, all my experience is really talking about Instagram. When I think about Instagram, it is, you think about that grid that we used to look at 10 years ago, and it was these curated static images that, you know, almost looked like they were from Pinterest. They weren't dynamic. It was very, you could take the shot, you could form it, like you could stage it. Whereas now it's so much more dynamic. I've forgotten your question. What was your actual question?
Cut through distinctiveness. So
Yeah.
if I've got 10 influencers who all have a great, authentic, you know, they're vulnerable, they're showing their true selves.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, good.
It's taking along the journey to get to somewhere. It's not, here's me, it's like, let's say it's a beauty makeup artist. It's not, here's my after beautiful makeup. It's telling the journey of how she found that perfect foundation, how she used to get it wrong and how she figured out a way that made it better. It's being vulnerable as a human and actually explaining how she got there so other people can get there too, you know? We don't want that just perfect shot, and we don't, you know, that's not, we can't really connect to that more. We can't connect to that anymore because we don't trust it, number one, because it looks like AI, and it doesn't build that storytelling. That's really what I think is prevailing in social media, is actually telling your story and the journey to get there.
Beautiful, thank you. I like the question, please.
Is that why people taking down to that content is very important? Because the individual founders that are sole operators, they show the journey, show the failures. Like, the example being, I have $2,000 in my bank account, I'm trying e-commerce, I've got them $200, and someone gives on a gift of $10,000 to a person buy. The VC who simply sees the journey and shop because they have hidden it, but they have not actually got the journey themselves.
Yeah.
Is that like...
Absolutely. But and even in that, we become a bit sus on how truthful that is too. You know, there's plenty of coaches that say, I make 6 figures. Like, I'm so sick of hearing things like that. But it's actually real receipts of showing like what's in your bank account. Like if it was actually a screenshot of that I would believe, not just like a text hook. But absolutely, I'm in the service-based industry. I work with creatives who, you know, touch someone's head or do someone's face. Like they are connecting human to human. They are human, and that's their absolute superpower on social media. It isn't their final product of what they do. It's them as a human and what their craft as an artist. And showing that, as scary as it is way more effective than just that end result. Absolutely. And once you start doing it, and it takes a lot of courage, a lot of like mental work as well to start showing up and taking people along the journey. Yeah, but once you start doing it, the results really do encourage you to keep going. Absolutely.
Welcome, Ash.
Thank you.
Harvey Hogan, down the end here. The globe-trotting gastronomer.
Yeah.
That's you. Freelance director with 25 years, 80 countries. 80 countries?
I think it's more.
Wow. That's cool.
I wrote that a while ago.
You wrote it, yeah. Which is to say you've shot a lot about everything, just about everywhere. Known for a calm, low-drama energy that puts even the most camera-shy talent at ease. I've seen you in action and would agree with that. What's one thing that people do instantly that makes them look unnatural on camera?
Overthink. I agree with what you were saying. You've got to be natural. Those flaws are amazing. You've also got to prepare. I think Benny Franklin said, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. You have to go into it like it's anything else, like a presentation or... Sorry, I'm overthinking it. I'm overthinking it. Yeah, you have to prepare and you have to take it seriously. It's content, right? On a Zoom meeting, you're going to prepare, you're going to think about what you're going to say, whether it's adding value or you're talking about a product or something like that. You know, it's a pretty simple process. What I try and do is make people feel comfortable. You need to have empathy and you need to relate to them because it's hard. Like, it's hard up here talking. I don't do this a lot. I'm behind the camera. But you realise that it's all okay and you like the flaws, I hope.
It's a tricky one to tell someone to stop thinking, right? Like, I hear you and agree with you, but that's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, but I also think that we consume so much content, and I often say, as Thomas said earlier, I'm sometimes quite blunt, but I judge character, and I'm like, this is being recorded. You're probably not going to watch it back, not this bit anyway. It's gone. Do you know what I mean? Don't overthink
get through it.
Don't be in the moment. Don't worry about your fly being undone. Just get it out. See?
Beautiful. Thank you and welcome. Alex, Huynh,
Yes.
the creative line cook. I don't know why you're a line cook. You're a line cook, sorry. Head of social media for Davies Fogarty, personal brand of Uddy founder and Shark Tank investor. I would love to hear more about your day-to-day. It's not my question, but I would personally love to hear about it. It's interesting running one person's social with a huge platform, right? When is a content tactic everyone is still doing that's completely dead and then one performing well against the odds? So what is a content tactic that's performing well and then what's one that's completely dead?
Yeah, so starting with content that's dead, I think it's very important that we establish that different platforms will accept and push out different forms of content. So for example, if you were to post a static image on TikTok with your sales and your deals, there's a good chance a lot of people are going to skip past that. But if you run that as a Facebook ad with your offer, and it's a great offer, like you buy it to get one free, there's a good chance that's going to do well. Like, we've seen that across the Uddy, we've seen that across other e-commerce brands. So depending on the platform that you're posting on will determine not only the content, but the level of complexity and the different forms of all the videos that you make, it's going to change. So for me to say anything that's specifically dead, I don't think there's anything that is dead off the top of my head, but you just have to determine where you're placing that different piece of content. But what works well at the moment, as these guys have said, founder-led content worked really well for Davey. When we launched his YouTube channel, we blew up on YouTube so quickly because the first video was about him, his story, his failures, and a lot of that built trust. It built authority. So subscribers went up, sales went up for the Uddy, and I think we saw the real impact that we could have, which is what led to what we're doing now, which is more founder-led content. And he's extended all of his specialty, I guess, to making videos on e-commerce, business, and helping other people, because that's what brings value to him now. Because once you make a lot of money, it's pretty meaningless to make more money. So right now he's helping other people, and the best way we can do that is by building trust. And with Davies' authority, it hasn't been difficult. So my day-to-day is pretty fun. It's pretty easy, but I really enjoy it because Davies, he's a good guy.
Yes?
Out in front.
How important is it to continue expressing the founder story of Davies Photos? Because you hear Gary Vee talk about it a lot, about his upbringing, how he was something like the Russian Soviet Union, and he was forced by his friends to piss out of the Coke can. So he repeats that a lot in his content. I'm not sure about nowadays that he repeats that quite consistently. How important is that in continuing doing that in Facebook and for founder-led content in general?
Yeah, it's a great question because you could beat it with a bat until everyone's over it, right? And everyone knows about you. And I think for a very long time, people aren't going to know about you until you're like Gary Vee, Elon Musk, and everyone's like, all right, I kind of know them. So it is a balance of trying to figure out am I posting this content? Am I checking all the metrics to see, is there downfall in trust? Is there downfall in engagement? Is there downfall in sales? Is it because I'm doing the same storyline? And I think the best way to do it is by breaking up your main story into as many lessons as possible, which is why it's so important to be able to build a history of credibility, because the more you do, the more you fail, the more stories you have to tell within it. If you want to start right away and you have no authority, you have no stories to tell, it's going to be very easy to run out of material. And I think what we do with Davey is we'll do a few key pieces of his story. On each platform, maybe we'll have one video that blows up. Until it blows up, we probably won't stop beating it with a bat. So if you go on Davies' Instagram, he has one pinned post. It's like a carousel, which is doing really well on Instagram, but we'll dive more into that after, about his failures. It's easy, it's quick to consume. Carousels are a powerful tool because you can just put text on, you can tell your story without having to get in front of a camera and tell your story. So we did that, and he got over,
33,000 comments on it.
33,000 comments, like a couple 100,000 likes, millions of views. We pinned that. One of the first videos we did on YouTube was his story. That's sitting over 5 million views, and we didn't feel the need to do it again. But in other videos, if we needed to build credibility, we would mention it quickly. So like, hi, I'm Davey. This is how I went from a failed uni student to making $1 billion in sales. So we would mention it, but like in a much smaller, condensed way, just to build authority.
Yeah, can I just jump in also?
Sure.
And also with the way the algorithm works now, it gets pushed out to a new audience all the time. You can beat the same story, slightly change it a little bit, and most likely it will be shown to a brand new audience, especially with like trial reels. So I think Davies' story, we probably reposted it like hundreds of times.
I think when it's your own content, you think that everyone is over it, but they are not. You can keep going on and on and on about the same story. And think about all the content you scroll through. Like, if you're a diehard fan, you might remember that. If you've analysed someone, you might really remember it. But the general audience doesn't know you've used that same opening hook.
It's kind of a similar point that you just made, Harvey, about in the moment. Like, the moment's going to pass and then you'll be on to the next one. But same thing in the feed, right? And last but 100% not least, Linda, did you agree with everything that Alex has just said?
Yes.
Great.
For the sake of getting married, yes.
The Organic Growth Grocer, head of social media at Udi, the Udi. Yes, that Udi girl.
That Udi girl.
That Udi girl. Co-founder of Socials with Lynn, an agency built on the radical idea that organic content still matters. 200K on TikTok and a 6 cents for what makes content land and what makes it leftovers. Are there any tricks to fast-tracking a mass following?
There is tricks to fast-tracking a mass following. I use this framework called FAST. So F is for follower hack. So follower hacking is pretty much coming up with every single way to obtain new followers. That could be commenting, follow for follow back, weirdly, still works. It could be running giveaways. It could be company collaborations. And lastly, do not do this, but people do still buy followers, unfortunately. But don't do that, it's illegal. The A in FAST is for algorithm. So posting 10 times a day, 5 times a day, 20 times a day. The more you post, the more you are going to reach people. Even if it doesn't go viral, the more volume you have out there, you're still going to reach people regardless. The S is for shiny content syndrome. So it's seeing something and jumping on each and every single thing that you see. And then the T, who links into the S, is trend-driven strategy. So pretty much jumping on every sound trend, every product trend, every yapping trend. So that's fast. That is how to grow a fast following. Now, second part to the question that I did not get asked, do I agree with this or do I not? I have done this myself, and that's how I grew to 200,000 followers on TikTok, but it's just not sustainable. Uploading so many times a day, jumping on every single trend, 1, is not sustainable, and 2, it doesn't actually build a real audience that wants to engage with all your content. Your feed just becomes a mood board for everything that's trending at the time, and as you know, trends die within like 3 days. So after 3 days, no one gives a crap about it anymore. So the second framework that I also like to work with is called REAL, so building a real audience. So building a real audience, Alex and I talk about this all the time. When you're trying to talk to everyone, you're talking to no one. So, double down on what you want your audience to be and start building content around that. E is engagement. Engagement, personally, I think, is the most important metric. Likes, followers, they're all vanity metrics, but engagement is where it's at. Like, if you've got 10,000 followers, but your audience is so engaged, they're the people that will buy your stuff and the people that you can actually sell to. A, as Ash has already mentioned, authenticity. I think that is super important, especially in a world with AI, so much content to consume out there. Being your true self, telling your story is super important. And the L in real is longevity. Can you come up with like a content structure that will take you from uploading every single day to the next 5 years? Are you still going to be able to do that? But yes, I think people can grow their followers really fast. Are they doing it the right way? Depends on what they think.
What's the tension between fast and real for you? Like, do you do fast or you do real?
Resources.
Yeah, resources. So I grew my following really fast during COVID because I had nothing else better to do, and Alex didn't either. So we just sat there and edited content for me every single day. And then I got a full-time job at the Udi that overtook my life and couldn't keep up with that anymore. And now my audience on TikTok, to a degree, is what I call a dead audience. They engage with me for how much I uploaded every single day during COVID. I stopped doing that and they moved on. So it became just a vanity metric in the end. And now it's a lot of work to try and build back that trust and that engagement.
From a business perspective, so you're going to launch something or you have a business that has not really dipped their toe into this properly and you want to start, right? Whether it's through a founder or whether it's through a product lab, whatever it might be. Is your perspective that it would be better to have that real, 3,000, 5,000, 200 people that are engaged and interested versus 10,000 that are there half-time?
Yeah, I think so. We also spoke about this as well. When you're starting a business at the beginning, it's really hard. Like, I don't know how many times I've gone on like an Instagram page, they will only have 20 followers. Are you gonna buy from them? Are you not? If they had 10,000 followers, maybe you might trust them a little bit more. So I'm kind of on the fence with this question a little bit. But also, if you've got 2,000 people that are highly engaged, you're most likely going to be able to build an audience with like 50,000 people that are going to be just engaged as they are.
So maybe first fast, then real.
Yeah.
You built a business, Thomas.
How did you do it?
Through neither of those, I think. I don't have an acronym. I think I should get one.
You're the story sommelier.
Oh, that's great.
You're the kind of director who can make a corporate interview taste like cinema.
That's fantastic.
Years across TVCs, brand films and short-form social. Your philosophy, every frame should earn its place on the plate.
It's awkward because I wrote that as well. I certainly didn't. It's the first time hearing that.
Question for you. What's a video project that absolutely should not be hired in Stepney Studios?
That's a good one. I think we're very expensive when it comes to weddings. Like extreme, like I don't think, I still haven't sold a single wedding package. No, it's because we don't do them.
Yeah,
no,
good,
fuck
no.
no. I can only say that because both myself and my business partner Cooper used to shoot weddings.
I still haven't got my wedding photos back, and Matt
That's
Dwyer's
the
a legend,
that's
but
the reason.
it's 7 months now. Come on.
It's terrifying. So, I don't know. I think, I face this almost on a daily basis. There are projects that come up, and I can immediately go, yeah, pinpoint 5 projects we've done recently that would fit this bill. I can use them as references. People watch them and go, oh, that's great. Can you do something like that for us? And there are other ones that pop up and I go, fuck, actually, how do we get the result that you need with video? Is it solvable through video? Is it a marketing problem? Is it I need more information? And I think it generally comes down to, through our process, me getting on a call with a client, having a chat to them and breaking those things down and getting to the core, what is the problem? And I think that's the one thing that generally I ask people to sort of, generally we work with brands and they come back to us and I say, tell me what is it you're actually trying to solve with this video content? Who are you speaking to? And then I can go away and start building some references as to what we're making here. And I think that applies to every project. And it's not, I make the wedding reference and event references and things like that as things that we don't generally do because it's not money that's well spent, like on a company like us, on a wedding piece of content or an event video. There are people out there that will do it heaps cheaper, and there are ways of getting that content on a phone that's probably going to serve the audience better, and we're probably not the right people for that result. I think it just comes down to strategy and who we're speaking to. It's less about sort of the type of video and the type of business. It's the type of problem they're trying to solve at the end of the day. Beautiful.
Well, that was a long introduction to everybody, but everybody meet everybody. It's interesting hearing all that because I feel like I sit in me professionally and kind of everything I've done sit in the middle. Like we've got the three of you very much in content and thinking about content and kind of probably Instagram as just a primary platform and maybe coming more from, advertising and film and, both brand and storytelling lens, and maybe similar, but maybe somewhere in the middle now too. And they're kind of different worlds. And in my world now, advertising, it's sort of the way you answer that question is sort of, we always ask the question, well, what's the strategy, right? Like, I mean, the actual answer to your question is, apart from a wedding, you're probably not going to say no to anything if they come and want to film something, right? Like, yes, we will do it.
And if they have a budget.
Correct.
If they don't have a budget.
That's what type of project won't you do? No budget. But you're right. There is, why are you doing this, and what is the impact? How does it fit into your business strategy? What's the purpose? We're here tonight to talk about video, which we're being filmed on now, versus iPhone, or versus fast content. And we're so deep into this world now where content is everything. Content is our lives. Like, I don't know how much time did we all spend today looking at content. It's crazy, to be honest. Like, it's and it is. I mean, Alex, you talked about thinking about the algorithm and sort of that being part of your lens for how you are creating. Like, it's interesting that we are being driven by that, right? As opposed to necessarily narrative storytelling, a brand strategy. It's like, cool, what's going to work, right? How can we hook people in? And you can see that evolve. But as a consumer, you also just get hooked into it. So it's interesting to dive into, I suppose, how we produce that, right? And what quality matters in that. Does it matter? So I'm going to throw some questions out wide. Please feel free to jump in, argue. If people have questions, also throw in. But in 2026, and we'll sort of get to AI, because AI content's obviously a huge part of the mix that we're looking at every day. But our audience is becoming turned off by highly polished, professional content on, let's use Instagram for now, because Facebook. People use Facebook still? Do you create for Facebook?
Ads. People buy from
just
Facebook.
for ads.
Yeah. Ads, great. Meta ads, great. So maybe we'll throw over here first. Highly polished content. How does that sit in your mix?
Weirdly, I love highly polished content. I consume a lot of fashion content. I love how crisp and how pretty it is. I love a high production content. At work, we do a mix of both. There's space for a mix of both. We do some TVCs, we do some out-of-home things, which are all highly polished things. Everything on the website's highly polished, and we do a lot of iPhone things. I think there is a place for both of them on the feed, depending what it is. So as an example, Chanel. It's a luxury brand. If I was to, scroll and Chanel randomly uploaded an iPhone video, I feel like I'd feel a bit uneasy about that. I'm like, that's kind of not what your brand stands for, not what your brand's known for. But if I scroll and the Oodie's got a fun iPhone video, I'm like, that's cool. I'm going to consume that. So yes, I'm a consumption of both, and I think it depends on the video format and the value you're trying to bring to your audience.
Any other thoughts? Yes, please.
All right, let me throw to the crowd. First of all, I want to thank everyone here for being here on a Friday night. I just realised it's Friday. I forgot. Who here, if you think about what you consume, hands up if you consume mostly iPhone content. Majority.
Is this from
like
brands
on an iPhone or iPhone produced
Like lo-fi content?
Lo-fi-ish, iPhone-ish content.
I'll replace iPhone with lo-fi for the rest of the...
Lo-fi, yeah.
Okay. Now, hands up if you only consume polished, DSLR, YouTube, long form, that kind of stuff.
Well, we don't really have that choice.
Yeah, it's a mix.
Okay, let's define this. It sounds like we need to define this.
Yeah.
So let's do a bit of work there. So let's give some
So
examples.
what's polished for us?
Yes.
I have a way to distinguish, like, for example, TikTok, I would say it's all like lo-fi video content, whereas Instagram, I would say I consume a lot of
I agree.
Or like if you strategically go on YouTube to watch long form videos, that's hi-fi.
Like, I don't know many creators that are doing too many iPhone long forms on YouTube, but on my Instagram, it's a lot more aesthetic, like a lot more food, a lot more polished stuff compared to TikTok. I get a lot more yapping on TikTok, but I still get a lot of value on Instagram. So...
Well, I think with Instagram, now that you can reorder your feed, everyone is really into the curation of what their feed looks like again. So it depends on what you take. Yeah, so Alex and I, we have a lot of hi-fi content on our Instagram because that's just what we consume. If I go on like my 16-year-old sister's Instagram, I can tell you it's probably either AI fruit videos or like random yapping content on there.
I don't think polished content... I don't think people avoid the polished content. I don't think it pushes people away. I think there's a balance between both for a lot of brands.
So I'm interested now, so if we think about TikTok, then what flows into Reels or that, that style of content, which for the most part is going to be lo-fi, right? Then you've got YouTube, which is and you've got a mix there, right? So if you think about food or, I suppose there's a lot of content which is reviews and, which is kind of somewhere in the middle, right? You've got a lot that's kind of semi-produced there'll be a DSLR and they've got decent lighting, but I suppose Harvey Thomas, is that professional video or is that somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, 100%.
No.
They've made an effort.
I thought the definition we're doing is if it was filmed on an iPhone
or big camera.
versus
Camera.
Yeah, camera.
I also
yeah.
find on YouTube, if you're watching an ad on YouTube, and if it's on an iPhone, it doesn't fit.
I agree.
Yeah.
I almost just want to, if I don't have YouTube Premium, walk away.
We're skipping anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Who doesn't have YouTube Premium?
A lot of people, apparently.
Wow. How
think it's hard
much time do people spend watching? Oh, let's look at platforms, right? So who spends most of their time on TikTok? Hands up.
Oh, okay.
It's a good mix. I like that. Instagram. YouTube.
Where do you buy from? And also, let's do where do you buy from?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Great, like that. So I think we've got YouTube, Facebook, X. Hey, Craig.
Is Elon here?
Fair. There's a lot of value.
LinkedIn. I suppose I was.
I'm on LinkedIn a lot. Yeah.
It's a necessary evil.
LinkedIn's feels like a bit.
We'll do another talk about LinkedIn one day.
we need
Great.
more chat.
Okay, so good. So we've got I would say it's TikTok versus Instagram in the room at the moment. Purchasing through.
I'd love to know
great.
which Instagram or TikTok do you buy from most?
Who buys from TikTok?
I feel like on TikTok, so it's easier to shop through Instagram because brand pages have their shop linked on Instagram. You can have links. TikTok is really hard to attribute. I've had this issue before. You're scrolling on TikTok. Rarely would you ever stop scrolling on TikTok after you've seen a product and go buy it straight away. But you may watch it on TikTok, think about it an hour later when you're off the platform and buy it. So you technically were sold on TikTok. It's just really hard to attribute that you bought from that platform. But Instagram just makes it so much easier. But in America and in Europe where there's TikTok Shop, people make bank on TikTok Shop.
It's 3 clicks.
And also the TikTok style, the content that you're getting interested in products is that UCG. It's a human doing a demonstration or talking about something, and you trust that way more than some static image.
Yeah.
Down
or
the front.
promo.
Instagram and TikTok, which one has higher influence?
She's on TikTok.
Instagram.
Between Instagram and TikTok, which one has higher influencer marketing collaborations and what quality they use?
We work across all platforms, TikTok and Instagram, for influencer marketing. When we engage with influencer marketing, lo-fi, majority lo-fi.
And it depends on the niche. Like, I'm a social media coach for hairdressers. I have built my audience to 80,000 followers on Instagram. I have 8,000 on TikTok. I've never even posted an original TikTok. I just duplicate across there, but I have a very good business with what I'm doing on Instagram. Like, I'm not denying it's not a great platform. I don't have time to do original content on that. I've got 2 young kids. There's no way I can sustain both as a sole trader. So you don't have to be doing everything, you know?
Your project that make the on channel, I think your first one's on platform.
From just for resource purposes, I use a program called repurpose.io. It doesn't mean you're going to get engagement on the other channels, but it's set and forget. Whatever I'm doing on Instagram, it's going across my other channels. So, and that's enough peace of mind for me when I'm juggling all the hats in modern life. Like, that's fine. If I can know that I'm doing a great job on Instagram and growing that and have a great business just on that, I don't need to worry about YouTube. I don't need to worry about the other channels right now. I can't ignore them, but I don't have to be doing everything.
What should always be shot on iPhone? What do you think should always be shot on iPhone?
It's a hard one. I used an example. I'm looking at buying a new car, and I love when someone goes through the car with an iPhone. They're not making it look good. They're like doing all these whips and showing me the glove box. I'm like, this is great. This is what I need to see. Yeah.
Well, you trust that, don't you?
Yeah. I
You
don't
feel
need
like-
to see a couple putting a dog in the back, like in the
Slow-mo.
camping stuff I fucking shoot.
Yeah.
You want to be pragmatic about it. You want to see the good stuff.
It's practical for that purpose.
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
and it's quick. And often, cars an example, but at a car show, you might only get 2 minutes to show this new car. So you go in, you whip around, and you come back out. iPhone's perfect.
Where does, because I think up front with the disagree, agree, where does traditional kind of above the line emotional advertising fit for you then when you're buying a car? Is that necessary?
No brand, like you want to be with the brand.
Yeah.
You're selling the emotion. You know, we've all been on Airbnb and you're like, I don't want to see the bedroom. I want to see the coffee steaming up against the window looking over the ocean. That's what I want to see. So the top of funnel, the good ads are building the brand and the emotion.
But the point is we're talking about hi-fi and lo-fi.
Yeah.
What you're actually talking about is the other thing that keeps coming up is authentic, inauthentic.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether it's a fucking iPhone video or a Pro video, it's whether it's authentic or not authentic.
And that's one thing we haven't touched on is content it's king. Doesn't matter what it looks like. If the content's good and it's raw, whether it's a founder led, as long as it's raw and it's watchable, it just doesn't. I don't think it matters.
What do you mean by raw, though?
Like
real.
It's an honest, true story.
Yeah, like
or
it. Well, we had a chat before, and you said you do stuff in the car, and you're contained. That's what it's about. It's quick, and it's like if you're thinking about lighting and setting it up, that moment's gone. Yeah. You want to just get it, and you post it, and that's beautiful.
I have this theory that I think the most authentic content is the closest from the ideation in your brain to filming it.
Yeah.
The closest you can get that gap, the more authentic it is.
Yeah, I always say it's less about the gear, more about the idea. I say it to my team all the time. And that's solely because I've got a lot of fancy cameras I don't know how to use.
So before, talk about idea. What does idea mean for you in that sense?
Well, you could take one idea and you can ask someone to film it on a professional camera or an iPhone and execute it and post it and see what works best. And I think it's actually less about the gear that you've used. But in saying that, there is a time and place for it. Like we were talking to Harvey, you know, if you're watching a TV commercial, like I would probably rather my TV commercials to be filmed professionally on the big camera versus an iPhone. But because when I'm watching TV, I'm most likely there to watch a movie, which is quite aesthetic already. I don't want to kind of break that cycle. I want to keep the same kind of flow. While when I'm on the phone, if I'm just flicking through an ad and it's also filmed on an iPhone, it looks native to the platform, so I don't really care. And it doesn't disrupt my thinking pattern.
It's the same argument back on a TikTok. If you get kind of a TVC that's pulled down into a TikTok feed, so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But then again, there's another argument that because there's so much lo-fi content on TikTok, sometimes hi-fi content breaks the feed. It actually gets your attention and you scroll and you're like, okay, this is weird, this is different. And then you actually pay a little bit more attention to it. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
It's just still, it has to have a visual hook at the start, though,
exactly.
doesn't it? Like it still has to be, it can't be this panoramic, long, slow-mo thing.
There needs to be a purpose.
No one's got time for that anymore. We don't. We scroll past. If you've got to say your message straight away, straight up. No one has time to see those sunsets and those slow-mos, or hear you say, hey guys, just jumping on here. No one cares.
Think about brand then in this mix and business, right? Because business have objectives. So you mentioned Chanel before, and it would feel odd perhaps to have lo-fi content in a Chanel spot. But you could argue that it could make sense if Chanel decided to put that as part of their brand strategy,
It could.
right? So it comes back to what is the strategic objectives of the business and how do they want to show up? Because they could test that.
Is an iPhone luxury though?
Sure. Is an iPhone luxury?
I don't think it matters about iPhone or not. A new iPhone is like $5,000 with a max quality, right? So a Sony camera is like $4,000. But if the person in it is portraying luxury, if they're in a nice hotel room, if they're unboxing it in a nice way on the iPhone in Paris or whatever, you're like, this is screaming luxury. And I would be like, wow, who is this? I trust them. Yeah. If they want that bag, maybe I could get that bag for my partner. So I agree with the... So what was your name? What was your name, sir?
Matt.
With the glasses? Matt?
Matt.
What was your name, sorry? What was your name? Matt, you made a great point before about it doesn't matter about iPhone or DSLR. It's the content inside, and I agree with that 100%. Going into this, I've been thinking about that. So when you mentioned Chanel, I was like, yeah, but if someone did an iPhone and they were like, I don't know, Hailey Bieber, for example, you're like, oh, like she's got money. It's a good brand. It's still luxurious. So maybe it's upkeeping to keep the iPhone.
But that's if Chanel's going to post that themselves or if she's posting on her platform. On her platform, it makes sense because it's native. Hailey Bieber posts really, really raw things, but will Chanel post it to that caliber? Chanel won't, because they will take their influencers and their creators and they will still film a high production of it regardless, because that's the brand integrity that they want to keep. And that's
on
the
brand
kind of
for them, but
and
they
on
could
brand for
change
them.
that strategy.
Yeah, and they can change that strategy, but they haven't yet.
Where do for all of you in your kind of day-to-day and perhaps you working with influencers, like where does business start killing creativity? Talk about ideas, like how does banging up against brands or businesses that think they know what they want?
Yeah.
Meetings and just stakeholders. Like, so I came from working corporate. I worked in corporate social media for 8 years. I worked at Westfield first. I was a marketing assistant. Instagram had just launched, and they're like, "Oh, Ash, you're the marketing assistant. Have a go at this." Straight away, loved it, obsessed with it. Started to hate all the other aspects of my job. And then I saw on Seek the first ever social media coordinator role, and I was like, "Wow, you can just do social media. How cool is that?" That was for Nine Wear Shoes. Worked there for 4 years. Then did agency. Worked my ass off at agency. Shout out to everyone who works in the agency. Best employees ever. Hardest working people ever. But like, again, I forgot my point. But I think...
Well, where does business get in the way?
Yes.
Meetings.
And, okay, so I've realised after working corporate for 8 years that I was always meant to work for myself, because those frustrations of sitting in those meetings, having everyone's subjective opinion on something, just killed me. If the frustration, not the ability to be agile and innovative, absolutely with social media and content, you got to move fast. Like, you cannot sit in a room and talk about and even content planning. I don't really believe in content planning that much. I don't.
Why?
I think because we are living in a world where you have to be posting content in the moment. You do.
And be adaptable. Like I said, with trends, they just come and go. And like, my biggest thing, so I've created user-generated content for over 100 brands. And the one thing that kills my creativity is when the brief has more rules than the actual goal itself.
Yeah,
and then when it comes back with, like, in my contract, I literally state, you can have a maximum of 2 rounds of approvals and that's it.
Yes.
If you don't like it, then your brief probably sucked to begin with.
It's that that micromanagement control thing. I think that's an absolute killer for innovation when it comes to content.
So I'm going to dive into content now. Are we agreed in the room, and off Matt's point, that if we've got a good story and there's a narrative there, how it's filmed doesn't necessarily matter? Fit for purpose, perhaps, but it doesn't really matter what it's shot on.
Yeah, I think story first, for sure.
Are we agreed on that in the room?
Story first.
Dissent in? Yes.
I just want to add something. So I think, like, I don't work in the industry currently, and I think sometimes we forget, because we're all in the industry, that your average consumer may not have any idea the difference of whether, like, when you talk about whether it's iPhone content or whatever the other version was that you mentioned, like I have no idea. Harvey will show me something that hasn't been graded. And I'll be like, that looks amazing. It was like, that's amazing shit that hasn't been graded.
I think that matters is actually audio, because you can watch a shitty film with good audio, but you will not tolerate a good film with shit audio. It's so true.
And add those captions, guys. People watch so much content on mute.
But, and there is so much content. So I'm interested in a point you just made, Ash, around not believing in necessarily content planning.
And content pillars? Ugh. Content pillars. I'm sorry. I don't. Because people think they need a plan so that everyone's on the plan and we all agree on the plan. But really, it's just I think if you're working for yourself and you want a content pillars, it's just trying to make you feel more confident and comfortable in what you're doing. But you just got to go do it.
But so if you are a brand that is about to launch something,
yes.
What then, we want to engage and say, hey, we want to grow this brand and we want to be on TikTok, we want to be on Instagram.
I'll make them, like, if I do work with brands, hair care brands, and I set the boundaries really clear, like you do with your briefs. It's one strategy session, one review of that, and then we're going, like, really clear on KPIs and deliverables of what's expected for you guys to start pumping it out, because you've got to test and learn. Like, the biggest part about growing is that you've got to actually put yourself out there at a high frequency now. So if you're trying to be scheduled, pillars, approval process, that just stops all of that.
How do you mitigate risk at a board level?
Oh, trust. So I've definitely worked at companies where I was in that room and I was able to be very agile and innovative, and I've had times when that got separated between managers, and probably why I left. You know, it's unfortunately it does come down to those relationships, and yeah, having that key stakeholder trust you to go, I trust you, Ash, you go for it.
It's interesting because there's two layers that we're talking about here in terms of content. So we're all agreed that we want to have a level of kind of emotional connection and storytelling that sits there. Like some of the work that you guys do is, you know, there's craft that goes into it, right? You're thinking about more than just the algorithm. You're thinking about a product that you're shooting or a story that you're telling, and then how can I light it and how can we get the best out of the humans that are in the mix, as opposed to just shoot fast, test it, try again. What's your take on where that sits in this mix from a marketing perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and there are taking this iPhone versus hi-fi, and the point that, again, most people probably don't know, the average consumer. To add another concept in here, it's probably mostly about lighting and audio, which are the things that does the thing look nice and can I hear it if I need to hear it? And if those boxes are ticked, then great. And that's where, you know, we've got a lighting van full of lights and equipment that's all labelled properly, and we know where it goes, and we follow a process, and all of those things happen from our point of view. And those things happen to make sure that whether we are shooting on a phone or we are shooting professionally, because we do both, which actually surprises people again, it does look nice and sound nice when it needs to as well. And yes, then comes things like strategy, and to Ash's point, yes, sometimes the meetings and the content pillars and things get in the way, which I would say I sit on the fence agreeing with. It is good to agree on a plan, but sometimes though I have been in projects that are still ongoing with some companies that those meetings are killing the project. And I have had clients where they come to us and say, we trust you, and it is great. Like, the work you've done is great. Go and do that for us. And they give us a lot of creative control. And those projects end up being, you know, long-term clients of ours. So I think that trust aspect is number one. And then letting people who are, and I would probably confidently say that everyone sitting here is a creative of some sort. Even though we may not have creative in our title, we are creative in a strategic sense or in a content sense or in a social sense, and work with people and need to build trust with people and need to build emotional stories throughout that. And even within the work that you guys do, you know, like you've said, humans aren't robots. Your podcast name is like, this is the feeling that you're selling and you're instilling upon people that work for brands. And it's that people to people aspect. I know I've taken like a ginormous train of thought to get to that point, but it is the, I don't know, where did I start? Lighting versus audio.
We got a question at the front here, maybe we'll feed back in. I know, I'm sorry.
What you're saying is completely right. I just want to say this before we move on to the social media topic. I'm a university student, and I was saying to my sister, like, they actually teach them nothing about social media. My major's marketing. But listening to...
Get out.
What?
Drop out. Send me your portfolio.
What are your current subjects? Like, what's the mix?
Well, I'm doing a Bachelor of Law and a Bachelor of Business. My business major is marketing, so it's a bit of like a variety. It's additional...
What do you want to do?
They need to teach this at uni. It's a big gap. They need to be teaching this stuff at uni.
What's your end goal?
Okay, wait. I just want to ask you.
You're coming up on stage.
We're so invested.
What's your name? Favourite movie?
No, I was like, everything you guys are saying is so valid, but there's no black and white answer. I'm like,
No.
It's like they're not teaching it because it can't really be intellectualized.
It's so hard. So I graduated with a Bachelor of Media and Journalism, and my first job out of uni at 21 was digital marketing coordinator at Ferrari. Shiny. So shiny. So corporate. So many bottlenecks. Anyways, they don't teach it at uni because I don't think they know what to teach at uni. So my brother, at the age of 19, does the exact same degree as you. He's an e-com business owner at the age of 21. Everything that he learnt from TikTok, YouTube, other mentors, free resources.
But isn't that cool? You don't have to go to uni.
No, yeah, but he was like, I've got
She's going to drop out.
Cut it there.
Yeah, my brother's the same. He's got like 1 year left and he's like, I'm just going to finish it for the sake of finishing it. But he was like, uni taught him like the discipline and like he made really good connections and contacts. But in terms of what he learnt for his business, that sold out twice, nothing.
So just to connect your points all together, trust, board, what you're doing now. I got my job at the Udi, I reckon, because I had credibility. So you can graduate and have that credibility, and that builds trust.
Helps.
So you may not necessarily need it, because I also did marketing. Majored in CGI and special effects, so editing Marvel movies and stuff. I dropped out because there was just so many layers to it that they didn't allow me to do and required me to do extra study that I wasn't willing to be a part of. But the other point to that is that you have to remember just like the trust on the board, there's levels to what they have to teach. Someone has to be able to give them this study that says this is what we're going to teach, get through the board, and if you look at the uni board, there's so many people that have to approve it and make sure that it's valid. And with social media, you look at the past 2 years and how fast it's grown in AI, how are they going to approve it, get it into the program and teach it, which is unfortunate, very unfortunate, because you are paying so much money to go there. I mean, hex, but you are going to pay so much money to go there, and all it will give you is maybe a chance to be seen by someone because you have some sort of verification. But to build trust, you have to be willing to have so much proof, so much reputable evidence that you know what you're doing that they can't say no to you. So to do a campaign that's like, hey, I want to shoot a rocket into the moon. All right, have you done it before? Done it 10 times. I'm Elon Musk, whatever. They will trust you. I'll give you $1 billion to do that. But if you have no evidence, no proof to build trust, you are going to struggle in areas that you may not even see coming. So my marketing degree may have got me the job at Davies because he's like, cool, you did marketing, you have a YouTube channel, whatever, you have some proof. We did a YouTube channel, don't look it up. But there is some proof that we kind of knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so if you go home tonight and think about, should I drop out of uni, there are going to be a few things you want to consider before you do that, all right? Even though we say that we didn't use our degree.
It got us somewhere, like at Ferrari, because they're such a big corporate company, they wanted someone with a university degree. So it helped me get my foot there, which helped me get my foot elsewhere and the rest of my career.
I think this is a nice segue into the future that is upon us because things are changing, right? And so that reality, I have 2 half-finished uni degrees. In the end, I thought uni was a complete waste of time and taught myself pre-YouTube, but still internet-based, right? Because even 2005, 6, there was so much shit on the internet to be able to teach myself. And now it's like, it is, you can find whatever you need at your fingertips. But we have AI upon us, and we're talking about content. I'm interested in all of your, I suppose, personal relationships with the models and the tools, and how long have you been involved? How is it impacting your world on a day-to-day basis?
So Alex and I, every Friday night, we have date night. Date night is us sitting at the dinner table together, exploring AI tools. It's so nerdy.
You also make a lot of content, so I've been following you. We
make a lot of content together.
You do make a lot of content.
So there is a tool now called Higgsfield's AI. It is so crazy. You could take my face, put it into the platform, create 100 videos of me doing things that I wasn't doing. It can take my voice, looks identical to me, also very expensive platform. But it doesn't have that storytelling element that I can just stick my phone up in the car and film, but it is really, really scary. I reckon in a couple of months, it's going to look so real that we may not, or the average consumer may not actually know the difference between an AI avatar and a real avatar. We work in marketing, so we've got our eye out for it all the time.
What's been the genesis of the last 2-3 years for both of you? Like, when did you start playing around with the tools and?
Probably this year.
This year only.
Yeah, I think we were quite late on the bandwagon, to be completely honest.
Like ChatGPT, Claude.
Yeah, so we use ChatGPT and Claude a lot for our scripting. Yeah. So we would input our idea, put it into some AI software, and it will just take our original human idea and just make it flow better. So we love it for that.
So I think on your point about Higgsfield, before we move on, we've been looking at other stores, e-com stores, dropshipping stores, that are doing UGC content, and the models are so fake, they're so obvious, but when you look at the back end of the stores, some of them are making millions of dollars, because boomers are on Facebook.
Because my mum would buy it.
My God, that is insane.
Yeah, it's your audience.
Who's your audience?
Is your audience, do they clearly know what's AI? Because I think everyone's going to get so more aware of AI, even these videos that are putting you in scenarios.
In your world, Ash, where you're doing physical, how has it impacted your world?
Yeah, so I think everyone, any business, anyone in this room, I think what's going to make you stand out in the future is being more human and finding the ways to be human online to make sure people don't think you're AI. As soon as they think it's AI, they're going to scroll past. So we've got to explore what are the things that people are resonating with that actually seem human. So the yapping concept. Has everyone heard of yapping? Yapping in the car. You know, that feels very human. I don't think AI...
They can't do that, yeah.
There are testimonial videos of AI, but you can spot it when they talk, like their mouth doesn't work. So, people don't like being fooled. That's the hardest thing about all AI, visual content when it comes to AI. It really doesn't feel nice in my gut when you trick people. You know, if you're like, oh, I thought that was real. Oh, so it's once you're tricked.
Will they know soon?
Yeah, until Linda's point, like, will they not?
Yeah, I hope not. I think humans are clever enough to figure out how to stay human. The ones who aren't brave enough.
Maybe giving us too much credit.
I'm going to slightly disagree there because I've seen the power of AI and where it's come from in the past few months, and I've seen a few that I'm like, holy balls.
You wouldn't even know.
That is getting
genuinely.
so close.
But don't they have to label it? Like, I feel like they can't 100% get away with it.
They're going to have to put in. They're going to have to put in some sort of guidelines out there. But at this stage, because it's moving so quick, a lot of the platforms aren't able to keep up with it, which is why so many of them are getting away with sales and like building stores and building fake stories. Like I saw, this is going to sound so bad. Where is this video going?
Everywhere.
Okay, I'm going to make it sound.
Only to Davies Fogarty, just straight to Davies' inbox.
Okay.
He doesn't check his inbox.
What were they doing? They made a story about a poor kid that was sick that had to sell a product to fund enough money to save his grandma. And it was completely fake, but it had millions of views and
it's like the dog that saved the baby that ran down and killed a deer.
It was crazy. It was absolutely insane, and they had no guidelines, no tags.
Well, this will be the end of social media. That's what's going to happen, really. If we don't trust anything, we'll just get off.
There is a wild west that exists
until we
out
find
there.
another platform that isn't doing this to us.
Harvey, Thomas, in your worlds, and coming from a place of craft and a place of caring about framing and lighting and composition and performance and a lot of human kind of visual and emotional cues, how is it impacting your world? And what do you think it's going to do to your business?
Yeah,
or your profession?
I think all of those things you listed are things that we can do, but the things that we don't sell, and people don't buy those things from us. And what we're now realizing is that people want to work with us because we know how to make people look good on camera. And I think an important distinction here is we are talking a lot about brands and maybe brands that sell products, but where do service-based businesses fit within this? Because service-based and brands that are selling products are, in my mind, two very distinct things. And when it comes to services, which we work with a lot of these kind of companies, law firms,
Why do you think that?
accountants.
Why do you think they're two different things?
I think, it's like, when it comes to products, who is selling the product? Have you got a person who's used that product in a UGC ad that's doing really well, that is then, or a person who's a bunch of micro-influencers or macro-influencers that are then selling those products for you and creating trust. I think when it comes to, I'm talking about the kind of work that we're doing with accountants, law firms, businesses that need to build trust in a maybe local area and need to sort of pull in clients and use online platforms and their website and socials to do that. I would never recommend that they use an AI video or AI generate a bunch of videos of the people in their team talking about things, because as soon as someone realizes that, they're going to go, I'm not going to go and work with those people. Yeah. Like if they have, and there's kind of an element of this could be BS, but if they have put the time and attention and money into presenting themselves that way and building their website out and making their presence look like, a professional business, I do want to work with them because they're doing things properly. And maybe, maybe that could be simplified through AI and the tools that we use to get there. But I think the human factors behind that is when people want to buy from people in service-based businesses, the AI equation doesn't really make sense for me.
Yeah, I agree. Because all the product ones that I can't even tell are AI might be like a homeware brand where they've just AI'd a cup into a kitchen. No one's going to tell. They're just going to see the pretty cup and buy it, and that doesn't matter. Where it becomes a problem is basically for medical and beauty-based services specifically. I've seen a few brands, and Alex as well, a beauty brand has used AI to generate their before and after photos. I think that is wrong. It's so icky, and that just breaks the trust straight away. If your service is not good enough to perform an amazing after, yeah, get it out of here.
But what happens if the uncanny valley is gone, right? So some of
And it looks real.
So if I can get Linda from so and so accounting firm, you're an accountant now,
Yeah.
and then
This is a real client.
I almost said clients. Don't say clients. Talk about it, marketing universities is hard work, let alone being in university and marketing them, and the layers of bureaucracy you have to go through there. But if I can take a photo of you and then, to your point, say, great, here are all the talking points for our firm, and that feels authentic and real, and we can script it to a point where so-and-so, Em's watching it at home, doesn't know the difference. What's the difference?
I think that will happen.
I think so.
AI is a creep, especially in our industry, let's call it professional, where we're already using tools to push a button to isolate a voice in a noisy background, and it will be an AI creep. So yes, that accounting firm will come in for the trust, but I think AI will creep in, and it'll be like, actually, let's put sunlight through here. Let's get rid of the people in the background because that's too expensive to do, and you still have the trust. But
As long as there's that trickery of this isn't a real human.
Yeah.
I thought I was connecting with a real human just then. That's the thing, I think. But, maybe the next generations, our kids, maybe they'll be like, I don't care for an AI.
Or-
That's
Looks
what they
to me.
used to.
I mean,
Like,
and that
yeah.
sounds like what people are saying now. It's like, well,
Yeah.
does it matter? I weirdly had this weird memory back in, I was living in London and I was taking photos on Canon Nixus, and someone I was working with who was younger than me at the time, so I would have been in my early 20s, so they would have been, a young millennial, geriatric millennial. They're like, why would you fucking take photos of a church? You just get the photo online. So stupid. And like that, okay, I was like, oh, that's weird. But think about, our kids are going to be saying, well, who cares if it's a real person?
So footballers in Europe on the EPL are expensive, right? You might get an hour with them a year.
Yeah.
They scan their face. They've been doing that for years, and they run and they kick a football. But it's not AI. Someone's done it, they've scanned it, they've put it on a body. No one cares.
You can't tell, that's why.
You can't tell. And there's brand trust. So why is AI now a problem? And it's all about trust. So it might be a hybrid where we shoot something, your content's real, the background's not, but you know what I mean? I think it's going to be a hybrid.
How does it make you feel about your profession?
You should ask Emma. Sometimes doomsday, sometimes excited. I think it's another. At the moment, it's another tool. At the moment, it could be a race to the bottom, but being a tool and knowing how to use that tool, and everything's efficiency, right? Like we have meetings to save time, doesn't save time, but if you know you can shoot something and make it look like this, or it's a sunny day, but it's got to be cloudy, and you can do that in AI. You're like, yeah, we can do that. Doesn't matter about weather. That's exciting. But like for Thomas, if you've got clients that don't want that, where do you position yourself? That's quite difficult.
I don't know the answer to that.
No, time will tell.
Sorry, just to add to that.
Please.
We've worked with Thomas. I've worked with a few different people, and where your value comes, particularly from my experience with you, is that you took the project really seriously, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. And I can imagine some people that might be quite timid, and you would actually make it very natural and easy for them to be themselves and be authentic. And that's just so much about who you are in your business, and Brodie as well.
Thank you for being my client plant. I'll pay you in... Just make sure no one sees me paying you in cash.
Is she
outside.
AI? She AI.
Yeah. This room is full of clients. I know all of these people. No, thank you. That's a human to human, and we're talking about starting a podcast and you guys being vulnerable and talking about yourselves and your experiences, and I think that's the quickest neural path between something being natural is getting in front of the camera and the microphones, and we've got all that here ready, set up to go, and you just come in, do a few costume changes, record some episodes, and we make that experience easy.
And it could be because I'm old, but I just want to say, like, you could be really amazing at your job in marketing, but if you're a wanker, I don't want to work with you. You know, so you're amazing to work with, and I feel like we bounce ideas off really well. And again, I don't know if that's because of my age that I feel I value that. I'd love to hear from someone that's younger in the crowd whether that's important. But for me, that's everything.
Yes.
The poor girl's had her hand up for like 20 minutes.
So sorry.
But I think just jumping off of that point, and what I was going to try and reiterate upon earlier conversations is that humanized content and humanized interactions, I feel like AI is still way off. Yes, it can maybe replicate the characteristics of a human. And for example, at our agency, we had a potential client come to us and say, hey, I'm selling this product. I'm finding it so hard to get traction with the Australian market. Since we did a bit of an audit, everything was like human AI generated content. And we're such savvy consumers. Like, yes, we're marketing, but it looks like it screams scam. It screams like, I'm gonna take all my bank accounts with you, like wherever you are. So that's one thing, but also my original point was getting to the fact that we're talking heaps about visuals and production and editing. You know, we've had airbrushing, like could that be a form of AI? We've had that for years, so it's like we're sort of seeing the next, you know, yes, we can add some sunlight in, yes, we can zhoosh that up. Cool. I think we're across the lines into weird, trust-broken territories. Ethics and human and trickery and whatnot. But then I'm a copywriter, so everyone's like, your job, see you later. But I feel like once you can start seeing the AI slop and the phrasing and this is X.
The dash. That
Oh my
dash.
God.
Delete that dash.
That point.
I wonder if everyone's loving it sick, as in people who aren't professionals, because it's so easily accessible, and just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's a shortcut. I think AI slop is when someone's too scared to show up or they're trying to get a quick fix. Oh, I can do this really quickly. It'll pump out all this. They don't actually want to do the work.
I just wonder if you guys think that pendulum, maybe over the next couple of years or years, is going to swing the opposite way. But you know what? People aren't going to be mad at seeing a spelling error in a caption. Or they're not.
Totally. I think that's happening now. I talk about that all the time. I openly talk about having dyslexia, and like I call out my typos or screenshots of my mum sending me, Ash, you've written this wrong. That's all the part of showing that you're a human, you know. And it's not, and you know, especially the fear is you think, oh, people are going to think I'm not putting care into this, but really it's actually showing that you're human, and at the frequency that we have to pump out content, there's going to be some errors. I think every brand kind of can feel that because you're doing emails and this and that, there are going to be little typos here and there and things. So I think it's more accepted.
Being polished is not a bad thing, but I think when it's like unnaturally polished all the time, and just because you can have a big paragraph of copy generated for you doesn't mean everyone wants to read that entire paragraph.
Yeah.
It also...
The captions that are like spaces and breaks and this and that, like just because you can. I just wonder if the pendulum is going to... I'm wondering if we're going to start now wanting to actually seek out copywriters and people who are like, hey, how do I sound like a human? You know, like, can you help me sound like...
It almost sounds like a lot of like economics where like how many people can you service within your vicinity are your business that can bring in overseas, like take on overseas work, and to curate for that, you can't go there and film it, you have to hire over there, or you don't have a budget for that, I'll have to use AI to give you references. But in this case, it's like relationship, human connection within your vicinity of Adelaide. You could service that person in person. And even if you can't, you work with a special capability, like you have the ability to do this, to create references for actually do this.
So I think what we're all forgetting is that all the AI tools are a tool.
It's a vehicle.
So humans are
We
still
still
going to be
drive
on
it.
the other end of it. So to answer you, you will give it guidelines, you'll give it your references, you'll give it all your messages, all your everything that you've given, that is you. Give it the tool and be like, this is me, I want you to do what I do, but faster. So it helps you become more efficient, you know, more quicker, maybe even improve on, maybe you start seeing things you didn't recognize that you were doing before, and you're like, oh, I want to change that, I want to get better at this now. So it is a tool at the end of the day. So instead of being like, hey, take over, do all this with no human touch, there is a place in a world in a few years where you might get enough information where you won't even be able to tell that it's human or fake, sorry. But it's like, because everything that we do, you can break it down. Like Alex has got his left hand here, he shakes when he's nervous, he does, you know what I mean? Like there's going to be little things and he'll be able to code it and copy everything. Even your side that you did before, there's going to be a robot that's going to be able to do that and be like, oh shit, what's the difference between, you know, the real one and the fake one? So everyone just has to remember that you can still use the tool and it still can feel human. Use it in a good way. Don't let it take over.
And like you won't
Be
lose your
thorough,
job.
read it, read what it writes to you. If you're using it for copy, like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes. More content being like almost cancelled because it is so highly quality, even if it is created by a person.
Yes.
That content is so readily available by AI.
Yes.
Have you got an example of that?
I think
it's there?
because AI is everywhere, everyone's got their eye out for it. So we had an ad filmed by a human, filmed on an iPhone. Some boomer commented on it and was like, I don't trust this is AI. Just because she sounded a little bit robotic because she was probably reading off a script.
Yeah.
Well, that reference AI in the content itself.
No, sorry, what was that?
So we've had an ad where we've talked about AI and stuff we built into our own construction software. And the response to that is like, this is AI software, you've got to talk about AI. And someone trying to was like, this is false advertising. So no, the responsibility is still on you, the user.
Yeah,
and then they have not
100%.
said and have not accepted that. They've just gone and posted, no, you're mentioning AI. It's just like complete anti.
That's all they see and that's all they hear, so that's all they pinpoint. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, we've had that experience literally like last week. And I think because everyone's just looking out for it. But like Alex said, in a couple of years, it's going to be blurred. So for example, I filmed an ad and my poor team, I messed up the script and I did not have time to refilm it. There's an awesome platform called 11 Labs. It literally just clones my voice. I feed it like 10 minutes of my voice and you just type in exactly what you want me to say. It has the same fluctuations as I do on my voice. If you didn't know, like, actually, even if I played it to Alex, I don't think he could tell the difference between if it was my voice or if it was AI. And that's just how advanced it's gotten to. But like Harvey said, it's the way we use it. We're not using it completely all like one button produces everything for us. We might use it to slightly change the voice or the lighting to still enhance like the human experience that it's carrying.
Any other burning questions? We've got about 10 minutes left, or slightly less than 10 minutes.
You can rent it a lot, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're in my back. It's gone.
Do you move some final position?
But I think the final position is something that, from like a strategy sense, when I started to understand that when working with clients, and it wasn't just, what is this video, cool, let's make it, that is one of the things that helped us improve both the volume and the quality and who it's targeting of our content so dramatically. We actually have a funny example of one of our clients, which is an outdoor brand. They make products. We made a series of product-based videos for them, and then also like 1 or 2 how-to videos of how to use those products that go for about 3 minutes each. And the owner who was running the ads himself at the time, I was like, this needs to go down the funnel for people who are interested and just run the ads to the product-based. Like, I'm not a marketing strategist, but I was like, I'm pretty sure that's what you should do. This was a couple of years ago. No shade. And he put the how-to video at the top of funnel and started running that as an ad, and that did so much better than the short product-based videos that I thought were actually going to perform well. And it's because his audience that are actually buying that content wanted to sit there and watch how that product gets put together and how it gets applied and the quality, and they took all of those things into consideration, and that ad actually did really well and continues to do really well on online platforms like Meta. And that is an example of, I think, I don't know who said it before, test. Like, you need to test and get some things out there because it is different for every business, every brand, every person.
Yeah, especially if it's like your organic audience, you don't know when they decide to purchase, you know. They may have, a lot of my messages when I get a new client is, I've been following you for a long time. So they've seen 20, 50 posts, and it's one certain one when they're ready on their journey that resonated. It doesn't mean it's the post that was viral. A lot of, the ones that actually get those DMs are things that are low performing, but they actually make a lot of money for me. So you can analyze it afterwards, but you're shooting your shot with content. You're just putting it out there and seeing what's going to perform. You've got to have a high level of, a good eye for content, a good eye for editing, but you really don't know how something's going to perform and where it is in that funnel until you've posted it and then analysed it.
Yeah, like I would say content's like a lottery. Like the more you have in it, the more chance you're obviously going to win it, but you just don't know when that one piece is going to hit. So we normally take one piece of content, reiterate it maybe 10 times, chuck it in and see what funnel it works in. And yeah, you'd be surprised. Like Tom said, there was a video that took me probably 30 seconds to film, like literally a yapping piece of content. I was like, this is shit, I'm tired, this is what you're going to get. It outperformed all our hi-fi like content, and we weren't expecting that. So they're like, Linda, just talk more and we'll just clip it up 100 times. Just because you never know, you need a test. Like I think Stephen Bartlett always says that his testing framework is testing how many times they fail. Because if you test how many times you fail, it means that you know that your team is actually trying new things every single day. And that's way more important than trying to get everything perfect.
Any more burning questions out there?
One quick one for me. We talked a lot about hi-fi, lo-fi, and we talked about the funnel. That was a really good question because it all sits in a different spot. What we haven't touched on is generational calibration. So if we're talking about, you know, an oversized jumper or a pair of makeup or, you know, content for large brands and law firms, surely we're talking about different audiences, so therefore there is a product to market fit based on the quality of that content to reach that generation and the audience and the way they consume it.
Yeah, 100%. So Meta for us, a lot of boomers, like my mum's a Meta buying bloody something every single day. I now have an approval process with her to make sure she doesn't get scammed. But they really love like the direct sale. Like they're like, cool, a sale on Facebook, that's what we want. That's what we're going to buy. Instagram's a bit different. We go down the brand storytelling route because people want to be sold on Instagram. They want to learn more about the product. The people, it's kind of a harder sell. I think like the touch point for someone to buy something is almost like 30 times. So they actually have to see you, your brand, your content 30 times before they're convinced to buy your product or follow you. So like you said, yeah, I think depending on your audience and the generation, different type of content to
and your
purpose that.
customer is aging with you.
Yeah.
So my core customer on Instagram, a hairdresser, their clients, when they first were posting, were young, blonde. Now they're all grey, doing root touch-ups every 4 weeks, and they're hating their life. So what's emerged now is called grey blending, a whole new concept of how you tackle greys. And I've had a client who came on board with me when she had 7,000 followers, been on Instagram for a long time, frustrated, not getting anywhere. She was great at her craft, amazing, but she was getting Instagram models in, thinking she was doing all the, you know, I need to showcase the blondes, the young girls. She flipped her strategy. She went just through consults on real women who are sick of having that grey retouch and switched to grey blending. She has blown up from 7,000 followers to nearly 200,000 followers in 6 months. It has changed her life. And she has identified what her audience actually wants, her actual customer, not what Instagram wants, not just an Instagram young girl. There's a real opportunity to, you know, grow on the journey with your client. And like, same for my business, I'm a lot of my core customer, a hairdresser who's also a mum. So I'm not afraid to talk about motherhood, being a working mum, all of that stuff, because I know it actually connects with them. And, you know, in 5 years, I'll probably be talking about menopause or perimenopause. Who knows? Like, there's nothing wrong with like evolving with the generation of your core audience.
Do we have time for one more question? Yes, we have time for one more question, maybe. Do we have one?
I've got one. It's not entirely relevant, but I'm just wondering, you know, how much of the success of the campaigns that you've worked on, for example, the Woody, for the marketing budget, like what that impact is, because, you know, I'm driving kids to school and I heard an Woody ad on the radio every 5 minutes and I'm sitting there going, gee, I just would love to know how much they are spending on this. And that's just one element. I know we're not talking about content per se, but how much do you think that's affected your success, particularly you mentioned brands like Ferrari, Woody, you know, we've got big budgets here.
Yeah, obviously can't disclose the budget a lot. But what we found with our other clients, a lot of people don't have the money to spend on Facebook ads, and that's completely fair, especially when you're a brand new brand. That's where organic social comes into play. It's, using organic socials, it's basically free minus the production and the time cost. But if you do have more money to run Facebook ads, it is helpful. Like I said, there's so many touch points you have to get to one person to convince them to buy. But in saying that, if you're spending like, for example, $100,000 on ads, but your content is crap, it's going to get nowhere anyway.
Do you guys do the paid strategy too? Or is it the whole team doing paid
Yeah,
advertising?
so I'm head of social media, so I manage the whole video production team.
Yeah.
And then I work really closely with our paid marketing team to do the paid strategy behind that as well. And then I run all the organic accounts as well. But they all work hand in hand. Like organic is really good for like top of funnel awareness. Then you bring middle funnel and bottom funnel in with paid and try and convince them to buy.
One quick question. Do you put your high-performing organic leaflet into your organic?
Yes. Yeah. So I like to do this even with my own personal content as well. If it works well on organic, which is reaching a random audience that may not follow you, it's most likely going to somehow convert on paid as well.
You just
Like the
may
Ash's
have to
point,
change.
test and learn and then boost it.
You may just have to change and add a CTA or whatever just
Yeah,
to
at the
make
end.
the organic one convert, because you could change the 20% conversion rate if you don't have a CTA at the end. Everyone's like, cool, that was a good video, bye, see ya. So your question in the back, just wanted to go back to that real quick. You were wondering about Uddy's success and if you needed a lot of money and if that was the reason why Uddy got big. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, look, I just remember at the very start, like I was just hearing it everywhere, and not everyone can afford that budget.
Yeah.
We're what, radio and TV, independent, social media.
It's a great question.
And you know what? Radio doesn't work that well for us, and radio is so expensive. Do you know what works well? Me dancing in an Uddy for 3 years in a row.
TikTok, that was, we took advantage of what was at the time, and that was TikTok, so we blew up. And because the product was so good and so unique, it got eyes naturally, and it just got a lot of views because it was so unique. So depending on your content or the product, you may have more of an advantage, and you may have to play with offers and different ads according to the product that you have, and it can be tricky because some are going to take different approaches, and some are going to take a bigger budget out of your Facebook ad campaign than others. Some will naturally look so good that you can post and get a lot of organic content. But if yours is such a targeted ad, like taxes or something like that, and you're like, okay, I need to go to the right people that probably have jobs and are worried about taxes. Now I need to make the right creative for it, and then maybe I need to boost it on Facebook ads, and you might need to pay a little bit more for that than something like the Uddy.
And he didn't start with all this incredible ecosystem of advertising. I think that's really important. Like, even for my own business, I started like with a 2-month-old baby in my lap with a website that I made myself, no ad strategy, no one to help me with content. It's not until 4 years in that I'm like, you know what, I can pay for an ad specialist to check in those ads because I'm not checking them every day. You can start small with your organic. You don't need all those overheads. You can build it up over time. And then reinvest into those other elements.
We are going to take this conversation back out with some drinks and some food. I'm going to say thank you to all the panellists tonight. Has been a lot of food for thought. We've got drinks to continue, so let's continue the conversation outside. Thank you, everybody, and thank you so much for all of the conversations. We can stay here till 10 o'clock, but let's have a drink and do that with some food as well. Thank you.